Welcome to God Guns America. We have been MIA for quite a few days, and a lot has happened, right, in the last couple of weeks, and things that affect the world and affect us as Christians. So we'll be bringing more podcasts very soon. Um, Today's podcast is Safe Space and Trigger Warnings. Where will we end up? This is God Guns America. Welcome everyone once again. And the reason, before I jump right in, let me just explain the reason why I chose this topic. Chose it for two different reasons. One is because it does affect us as Christians. It's something that we see in the world, and two, it affects my generation directly. And if you're in the age group of 18 to 34, then this is your generation as well. This is the millennial generation, right? So, the first thing we'll do, let's define what this is, right? A trigger warning are alerts that professors are expected to issue if something in the course might cause a strong emotional response. And a safe space is the idea that students should be able to feel safe from any aggression, not just physical, but also verbal, meaning they don't want to hear or see anything that offends them, nor be a part of such atmosphere. The question is, how do you get that in America? We live in a republic, right, where speech and expression is a basic liberty. It's a constitutional freedom. So to say that you want to control or get away from anyone or anything that might offend you is just insane, right? Plain and simple. And by the way, in case anybody didn't know, this country was not founded as a democracy. This was founded as a republic. The difference is that a republic has a charter of laws. In our case, is the Constitution, which protects certain rights that cannot be taken away by the government, even if the majority of voters voted on it. In a pure democracy, the government and the majority of voters have no restraints at all, right? They can impose their will on the minority groups. So that's the difference. But the first thing we're going to look at is a huge, gigantic generation divide. So according to psychologists, the people that were born before 1980, for them, civility meant that you shouldn't be insulting and you shouldn't be attacked. But you do not have the right to expect that you won't encounter it, right? That you won't be attacked or insulted. Keeping in mind that we're imperfect, right? Opposition actually helps us grow. So people born after 1980 had a string of murders and of child abductions. They got the internet, cable TV, milk cartons. And so kids after that had less time unsupervised. So if someone calls someone from an older generation a stupid idiot, he's most likely going to call him a stupid idiot back or punch him. For somebody in a younger generation, they're going to look for an authority figure to handle the situation and to protect them. This means that for anybody born, or not anybody, but the majority of people born after the 1980, they're more likely to be in a state of moral dependency. So what that means is that if someone does something to me, I won't deal with it myself. I will get an adult authority or someone else to punish whoever did something to me. And for a lot of university teachers, actually, this makes their job almost impossible, right? We're going to listen to a clip here, and this is a psychologist and teacher, Jonathan Haidt, and he goes over a situation that he encountered, right, in regards to this. But let's listen to it real quick.
So I'll share with you the story that made me so passionate about this topic. I was teaching a course here at NYU 2 years ago, and I showed a research video showing an experiment that I had done 15 years earlier at the University of Virginia. There's a conversation between two students. As part of trying to persuade each other on something, one of them makes an argument about whether gay marriage and gay sex are moral issues or not, and he's saying they're not. And to respond to another student's point, he says, I mean, like, if I were to see it happening, and he says that he would not like to witness two men having sex, but, it's perfectly okay. The fact that I don't like it doesn't make it wrong. So by the time the lecture is over, this is a video I showed of two undergraduates having a conversation. By the time the lecture was over, the one student had emailed the dean about my homophobia, and it led to it basically brought the course to a standstill over the next week. I thought for sure the student had simply not understood that the student in the video was actually very pro-gay rights. But it turned out that she had understood it. It's the fact that it made her uncomfortable that somebody expressed a personal discomfort, personal dislike of seeing two men having sex, this was homophobia, and I had to be punished. And so she bullied me into an apology. I finally apologized because the course was at a standstill. But she didn't like my apology, so she filed charges against me in the Equal Opportunity Office here at NYU. Now, there's no way I would have been convicted, but I lost several weeks of my life. There was a social media campaign against me. I was called homophobia in all kinds of blogs and the press. And I'm incredibly anti-homophobia. I mean, but this is the thing. This is why you see these headlines now. I'm a liberal professor, and my liberal students scare me because your intentions don't
All right,
matter.
let's stop right there. So this we just heard is a liberal student going after a liberal professor, right? Because the student didn't like what he or she heard. So a Pew Research shows that improvements in the labor market have not led to millennials living apart from their families. In fact, the nation's 18 to 34-year-olds are less likely to be living independently in their own homes and establishing their own households. Today, they're less likely to establish their own household today than they were in the depths of the Great Recession. So why is it that we're seeing this in our generation? Why do we feel the need to bring up flaws, right, on other people when we think they're doing wrong and call for action against them? Well, the fact is that it's an easy and lazy way to get attention, a way to empower yourself because the victim has a certain level of power and a way to feel good about yourself. Another Pew Research titled Millennials in Adulthood shows how we're a generation of unattached to organized politics and religion, linked by social media, burdened by debt, distrustful of people, in no rush to marry, and optimistic about the future. It also shows that we're a generation that votes heavily Democratic and for liberal views on many political and social issues, ranging from belief in activist government to support for same-sex marriage and marijuana legalization. The racial diversity is also very high in our generation, right? It shows that 43% of millennial adults are non-white, the highest share that any generation has had, right, in the history of our country. Half of newborns in America are non-white, and sometime around the year 2043, the full U.S. population the majority will be non-white. And only 58% of our generation are certain that God exists. So almost half of it don't believe in God, right, or are not sure that He exists. So this is something more seen on the left side of the political spectrum, right? Social justice is now a new way of thinking in schools and society. Teachers and university presidents give in because, again, the majority of them are also on the left side of the political spectrum. So this basically just got out of hand for them and something they can no longer control, so they just basically let it happen. This is kind of funny. I'm going to play a clip. It's a couple of minutes long, so bear with me, but it's kind of funny. It's an MTV clip. MTV recorded this clip, and I think it describes perfect what the so-called social warriors are, right, or what they're about, right? But let's take a listen. Let's see here.
There's a war going on out there, and we need warriors. Social justice warriors! Maggot! Are you ready to promote social justice, acceptance, and tolerance?
Yes, sir!
What did you call me?
Yes, ma'am!
You want to try that again?
Yes! Gender-neutral pronoun!
There may be hope for you yet, Maggot! Let me hear your war cry!
Everyone deserves basic dignity and respect!
Basic training begins now! On the battlefield, you maggots will encounter fake facts, and you must know how to disarm them! Blacks are lazy and eating up all the food stamps!
Actually, the majority of food stamps go to white families!
Planned Parenthood harvests baby parts for profit!
That claim is based on an intentionally misleading video from anti-abortion activists!
Muslims were celebrating in New Jersey after 9/11!
There is zero footage or eyewitness reports that ever happened.
All right, maggot, this room simulates the YouTube comment section. Consider this your trigger warning.
Okay.
First grade teachers need to be armed.
Donald Trump should be president.
Build a wall. Teachers can
Who thinks like this anymore? I can't take it in there. I don't feel safe.
We're coming, buddy.
Yes, we can! Here's your granola bar. It's all organic.
We support you. We love you.
Good job, maggots. We're in this war together. And for your final test, you'll have to pass target practice.
Feminism isn't about taking away the rights of men. It's about equal rights for everyone.
Political correctness is just treating others with respect. The bigger question is, why do you want to say politically incorrect things so badly?
Why aren't you saying anything?
There's nothing for me to say. It would be inappropriate for me to dominate this particular conversation.
Good job, maggot!
Can you stop calling us maggots, please?
It's disrespectful, and fly larvae are an invaluable part of our ecosystem.
Excellent point, soldiers!
All right, let's stop it. So this is, and at one point in the video they mentioned, that all they want is fairness for everyone and justice, right? And nobody disagrees with them, right? Nobody does. As I mentioned before, the research by psychologists say that older generations are actually understood that there should be mutual respect, but you don't have the right to expect it, right? At some point, there's going to be somebody that doesn't agree with you. You can't help it. You can't force somebody to think like you, right? The idea that you can is just ridiculous. But so let's look at some examples, right, of things that have happened, and I'm sure you guys have heard of all this, or most of them, right? Because they've been flooding the news for a few months now. So in Yale, the president of the university apologized to a group of minorities by saying, "I'm sorry, we failed you," referring to the university failing to provide a safe space for students. And he continues saying, "I think we have to do better. I think we have to be a better university. I think we have to do a better job." In Harvard, a student requested of a law professor not to teach rape law. Rape law. They're not allowed to teach rape law anymore. So, in another case, not to use the word violate as in, something violates the law. So now they're dictating what their teachers are allowed to teach, right? What they're allowed to say and teach in class. In Yale, students decided it wasn't appropriate to wear certain Halloween costumes because of cultural appropriation, or because it may offend, or it may be offensive to the people of that specific culture, right? In University of Missouri, students actually forced the president of the university to resign because he was not able to keep them safe from racial slurs. Seriously. All right, let's keep going. Recently, actually, I don't know if you guys heard, but just recently, someone wrote on a wall at Ohio University, mocking safe spaces. The graffiti read, it says, "Trigger warning. There are no safe spaces in real life. You can't wall off the First Amendment." In response, one student demanded a mandatory investigation, which it happened. The police went out there and they investigated. Another student actually vowed to beat the blank out of the CR members. So again, everybody demands respect, right? But this is the problem with this is that it's a very one-sided argument, right? The moment you don't agree with them, again, you're a bigot, you're discriminating, you're not allowed to be in their safe space. So it's just insane, right? So anyway, so why trigger warnings in safe spaces? Do they even work? And the answer is no, right? They don't work. But let's listen first from one of this. There's a girl that actually recorded this video and posted it on Facebook, or not on Facebook, on YouTube, and she's gonna explain to us why safe spaces are very important. But let's take a listen here.
So the situation in Mizzou has really got me thinking of safe spaces again, and if you guys know me, I'm really passionate about POC. If you don't know what POC means, it means people of color, not to be confused with colored people. It's not the same thing, stop saying that. So I think that safe spaces would really, really benefit society in the long run. It will help POC get away from white people's ongoing oppression, ongoing violence, harassment, and they can have their own classrooms, they can have their own buses and water fountains, and it would really help them. And, like, it's not gonna solve the ongoing problem of racism, like, I know that, like, let's be realistic, but the only way we can solve that is we get rid of all the white people, and we all know that Hillary Clinton's reign will do